Rain fell like cold needles on the lonely metal roof of the outpost. Inside, the humans sat in silence, watching the fire flicker in the old heater. Name was Elias, a man who had once fought in wars but now lived far from them, in the middle of nowhere. He didn't want company, didn't trust people, and definitely didn't expect visitors. That's why the knock made him freeze. It was soft at first. It's almost like a mistake. Then came a second knock, weak, slow but real. Elias grabbed his old blaster, his body moving on instinct. No one came out this far. There were no towns nearby, no travelers, no neighbors, only dust, ice, and silence. He stepped slowly toward the door, his boots crunching the wooden floor, pressed his back to the wall, reached out with one hand, and opened the door. What he saw made his heart stop. A figure collapsed at his feet, a woman, or something close to one. Her armor was cracked, scorched by energy blasts, and her skin had a faint violet glow. Long strands of silver hair stuck to her bloodied face. She looked up at him with glowing golden eyes, but they were dim, losing light fast. Then she passed. Elias stood there for one long moment, blaster still aimed. He had seen war, aliens, even assassins, but this one he recognized not personally but by reputation. She was known as the Shadow Serpent, the galaxy's deadliest assassin. Wanted in 12 systems, feared in 50 more. No one knew her real name. No one had ever seen her and lived to tell the story. So why was she here on his doorstep, half dead and alone? He checked her pulse, still alive, barely. Against all his instincts, he pulled her inside. Hours passed. She lay on his couch, still unconscious. Her wounds were deep burns, plasma cuts, bruises that meant close combat. Someone had tried hard to kill her. Elias had cleaned and patched what he could. Her breathing was weak, but steady now. He sat in the corner, watching her. A small blinking light under her collar caught his eye. A tracker. He didn't touch it yet. He just stared at her face. Even in pain, she looked calm. Too calm for someone who just escaped death. What the hell had she been running from? Outside, the wind howled. Inside, silence. Then suddenly her eyes snapped open. She didn't scream, didn't move fast, just blinked slowly, then stared at him. "You're not one of them," she said, her voice hoarse but sharp. Elias stayed silent, only nodding. "You live here alone?" "Yes, you're human." "Yes," a long pause. "Good." She tried to sit up, but her body gave out. Elias moved to help, but she lifted a weak hand. "Don't," she said. "Just let me breathe." "You were almost dead at my door," he said. "You want to tell me why?" She coughed, winced in pain, then looked away. "I made a mistake. That's all." She shook her head. "I saw something. Something they didn't want me to see." "Who's they?" She closed her eyes. "The ones who made me." Elias felt a chill creep up his spine. That meant only one thing: Blackstream, a hidden organization behind dozens of assassins, spies, and covert agents. It wasn't a myth. He knew people who vanished just for saying the name out loud. "You ran from them?" he asked. "I tried," she said. "They sent my own team after me." "That's who did this to you?" She nodded. "And they're not done yet." Elias looked at the door. The rain had stopped, but far in the distance, just barely on the edge. Of the hills, he saw a faint blue flicker. Drones, searchers, they had found her trail. He shut the blinds, locked the doors, and grabbed his rifle. "You brought death to my doorstep, assassin." She smiled weakly. "I thought humans liked danger." He looked at her. "Not all of us." Another pause. Then she whispered, "You could have left me outside." "I thought about it," he said. "So why didn't you?" He didn't answer. Instead, he tossed her a thermal blanket. "Rest now," he said. "You've got one night before the shadows come knocking again." And this time, they wouldn't knock gently. The morning sky was gray, heavy with clouds. Elias stood by the window, staring at the faint trail of smoke rising in the distance, too thin to be natural, too straight to be innocent. Someone had landed nearby, and they weren't hiding. Behind him, the assassin sat silently on his couch, still wrapped in the thermal blanket. Her wounds were healing, but her eyes remained sharp, watching, calculating. She hadn't said much since last night. But now, as the wind shifted, her voice broke the silence. "They found me." Elias nodded. "I saw their drone, military pattern. Fast, silent, not local. They'll come at night," she said. "That's how they work. Quiet, quick, merciless." Elias turned to her. "Who are they?" She leaned forward, face pale but voice steady. "They're not soldiers. They're cleaners. Their job is to erase mistakes, and I'm one of those mistakes now." "You mean Blackstream?" She looked up. "Surprised you know the name?" "I've heard whispers. During the war, some of my people disappeared. No sound, no trace, just gone." She nodded slowly. "That was them, and now they want me erased. Because I saw what they were hiding. I broke their chain of control." Elias checked his old rifle, loading fresh rounds. "They're coming. We need to prepare." She gave a tired smirk. "You're a farmer now, not a fighter." "I was never a farmer," he said. "I came here to stop killing, not to forget how." Elias moved through his cabin with quiet speed, opening hidden compartments in the floor. Under dust and wood, he revealed a stash of old military gear, motion sensors, EMP mines, thermal goggles. The assassin watched in silence, then raised an eyebrow. "You were special forces." "I was tired," he replied. "Left, but not soft," she added, her voice low. "No," he said, "not soft." Together they planted traps around the cabin, tripwires hidden in snow, silent alarms at the tree line, explosives tucked under stones. The forest was thick and cold, but Elias moved through it like a ghost. She followed, slower, still weak, but determined. As the sun dipped below the hills, the wind carried a strange hum. "Faint mechanical wrong. They're scanning," she whispered. "Tracking body heat, movement, anything." "They won't find either," Elias replied. "I've lived in this forest longer than they've existed." She looked at him differently now, as a simple human. Not as a fool, but as someone dangerous in his own quiet way. Back in the cabin, they sat in the dark. No lights, no fire, just silence and the slow beep of motion sensors waiting to scream. She finally broke the silence. "You never asked my name." "I figured you'd lie," he replied. A small smile tugged at her lips. "I would've," she said. "But now, I think you deserve it." She looked at him and said, "My name is Selah." He repeated it softly. "Selah." She nodded. "The galaxy calls me a killer, a ghost. But before all that, I was just a girl who got taken." Elias didn't respond. He knew the type: child soldiers, programmed agents, minds rewritten by tech and trauma. Selah wasn't evil. She was made this way, and now she wanted to be free. The first sensor beeped. Just once, then silence. Elias moved fast, checking the map. North Ridge. 2 contacts, moving slow. If they're here, they'll circle. Look for weak spots. You won't find one, Elias said, but they might die trying. They watched from hidden panels in the wall, teeny camera feeds showing shapes moving through the trees. 2 figures, tall, armored, in tight black suits with glowing blue visors. No words, no radio noise. They moved like wolves, silent, trained, perfect. Elias whispered, "Scouts." Selah nodded. And more behind them. Sudden flash, one of the scouts stepped on a buried mine. The screen blinked. The second scout vanished in a wave of fire. Elias turned to her. "That'll buy us time, not safety." She stepped closer. "Then let's use it." Hours passed, no more movement, no more beeps, but the tension hung in the air like smoke. Elias paced near the door, a rifle in hand. Selah leaned against the wall. Holding her side, "You should leave," she said quietly. "I'm not leaving my home," he replied. "They'll burn it down," she said. "Just to bury me. Then I'll rebuild it," he said. "Ah! After we bury them." She looked at him, really looked in. Something flickered in her eyes. Something fragile. "You're not like the others," she said. "No," he said. But neither are you. At midnight, the sensors all lit up, 6 beeps, multiple directions. A full team. Sayla took a deep breath and pulled on the chest armor Elias had repaired earlier. He handed her a blade. You sure you're ready? She smiled faintly. I was. Born ready? No, he said. You were born free. And tonight, we take that back. The forest outside came alive with shadows, figures moving fast, silent as death. But inside that cabin, 2 people stood waiting. Not prisoners, not prey, just a human and an assassin, ready to make the galaxy bleed if it dared knock again. The cabin smelled of smoke and blood. The walls were scorched. The front door hung off its hinges. Outside, 2 enemy bodies lay motionless in the snow, faces hidden behind broken masks. Elias stood near the window, rifle gripped tight, eyes scanning the dark woods. But no more enemies came, not yet. Behind him, Sayla sat on the floor, her back against the wall, chest rising and falling slowly. Her hands were shaking, not from pain but from something deeper. I didn't freeze, she whispered. But I almost wanted to. Elias glanced at her. That's normal. You're still human, no matter what they did to you. Her eyes met his. No, I'm not. For a while, neither of them spoke. The cabin creaked in the wind. The heater was off, the power cut during the fight. But neither of them cared about the cold. Then Sayla did something Elias hadn't expected. She removed her chest armor and turned. Her back toward him, a long, deep scar ran down her spine, glowing faintly with tech residue. It wasn't a battle scar. It was surgical, brutal, clean. A mark made by machines, not war. That, she said, was where they placed the control chip. Elias knelt down. You ripped it out? She nodded. I wasn't supposed to. It was fused into my nervous system. But when I saw what they did to those children, it didn't care what it cost me. Said nothing. She continued, they trained me since I was 6. No name, no family. Only one rule: kill when ordered. No questions, no mercy. She paused. Her voice cracked. But I started dreaming. Real dreams. Of light. Of warmth. People who weren't screaming. Elias sat down beside her. Double quotes, dreams mean your soul's still alive, he said. She looked away. Not if the galaxy still wants me dead. Later, Sayla sat on the floor beside the fire Elias had managed to restart. She held an old mug with both hands, letting the warmth seep into her fingers. Outside, the wind howled again, but it couldn't reach them inside this moment of silence. I was on a mission, she said, voice low. Planet Arco 7. Simple kill order. But when I got there, I saw something else. What? Elias asked. Slaves, she whispered. Children, elderly, scientists all hooked to machines, drained of their minds. Blackstream was feeding off them, using their thoughts to train the next generation of assassins. Elias's face darkened. And you were supposed to look the other way? I was supposed to kill the only one who escaped and tried to leak it, she said. But I couldn't do it. She stared into the fire. I killed the guards instead. Helped the witness escape. Told him to vanish. Then I ran. You knew they'd come for you, Elias said. She nodded. But I didn't know where to go. My whole life, I had no place. No one. But then I remembered something. Elias looked at her. What? A rumor. A human soldier who vanished after the war. They said he lived in the wild, away from everyone. That he didn't kill anymore, but he never forgot how. Elias raised a brow. You came here, looking for me? She gave a small smile. Didn't believe it until I saw you? The fire cracked. For the first time since she arrived, her shoulders relaxed. Just a little. Elias leaned back. You're not broken, Sayla. You were just never given a choice. She looked down at her hands. Now I have one, but I don't know what to do with it. Live, he said. That easy? No, Elias replied. But it's a start. Suddenly a soft beep came from the corner of the room. Elias jumped to his feet, checked the small device on the shelf. It wasn't a tracker alert. It was a signal decoder, one of the many tools he'd pulled out of hiding earlier. "What is it?" Sayla asked, standing quickly. He held up the device. It just picked up a burst transmission. Very short, heavily. Encrypted. Her eyes narrowed. "Blackstream?" He nodded. "Most likely." The signal was close. Someone sent it from within 50 kilometers. Her jaw clenched. "They're calling in reinforcements." Elias scanned the frequency. "Don't have long." That burst might have gone to an orbiting ship. "I need to leave," Sayla said. "Can't drag you further into this." But Elias grabbed her arm gently. "You're not dragging me. I chose this, and I'm not letting them erase another soul." She stared at him for a long moment. Then nodded. That night, they prepared again. But something had changed. This time, Elias wasn't helping a stranger, and Sayla wasn't hiding like a hunted animal. She was remembering who she was before the scars, before the chip, before the title of assassin. A girl who wanted to be free, a man who had given up fighting until now, together, they were becoming something new, and Blackstream was about to learn what happens when their monsters stop obeying. The air felt heavier than before, like the forest was holding its breath. Elias moved fast between the trees, planting small black discs beneath frozen leaves. Every step was calculated, every trap placed with quiet precision. He wasn't hiding. Anymore, he was preparing for war. Sayla followed a few paces behind, carrying a thermal scanner and an old sniper coil. Her body was still healing, but her hands were steady now. They weren't running. Not tonight. Tonight. They were setting the stage because Blackstream was coming in this time. Elias planned to welcome them with fire. The first trap went into a hollow Laga proximity-triggered EMP mine. Any drone or powered armor that got close would short out and fall like a stone. Next, Elias rigged a tension wire to a buried spike. Not enough to kill, but enough to slow and bleed. Sayla scanned the tree line, eyes focused. Heat signatures none yet. "But the birds are gone. Means they're close," Elias said. "The forest always knows first." She handed him a signal jammer. "We only get one chance. If they call back up, we're buried." "Then we make sure no one calls," he replied. Back at the cabin, they prepared the last line. Elias rewired the front steps to trigger a sonic trap. He adjusted the power levels on the old plasma turret he'd hidden in his shed for years. Its barrel hissed as it warmed up, hold tech still deadly. Inside, Sayla laid out every weapon she could carry. Blade on her hip, rifle across her back. Extra magazines taped to her thigh. She looked into the cracked mirror by the sink, seeing a new version of herself wounded. Yes, but awake. Free, for the first time. She didn't wear her assassin's mask. She didn't need it anymore. Just after midnight, the sky turned red. Not from dawn, but from fire. A Blackstream drop pod came in fast, punching through the clouds like a meteor. It hit the far ridge, exploding into flames and smoke. No subtlety, no silence. This wasn't a stealth team. This was a message. Sayla's voice was cold. "They're angry." Elias smirked. "Good." They took their positions, Sayla up in the trees, rifle aimed at the ridge. Elias crouched behind an overturned bench, watching the path lined with traps. Then came the first movement. A shape in the smoke. Tall, armored, glowing. Another one appeared to the left. Then 3 more. Full combat squad. Sayla steadied her aim. "Should I wait?" "Let the traps speak first," Elias said. The lead soldier stepped forward. His foot hit the wire. A blast tore upward, shredding metal and snow. The second one ran into a mine his. Body flung sideways like a rag. The third ducked till its shot cracked through his visor, and he dropped without a sound. Elias opened fire from below. The plasma turret roaring to life. 2 more enemies scattered for cover, but the woods were no longer safe. Every direction led to something sharp, hot, or deadly. One by one, they fell, and Elias kept shooting. and Selah didn't miss. But then, something changed. The air shimmered just for a second. Selah blinked. Elias, behind you, Cloaker. Late, a figure appeared from thin air, swinging a shock baton. It slammed into Ilias's shoulder, knocking him to the ground. He rolled, grabbing his knife. Slashing up metal screeched as it met armor. Selah jumped from the tree, tackled the Cloaker. It drove her blade into its throat. It sparked and screamed, twisting before collapsing. Elias stood, breathing hard. Using phantoms now, which means this isn't the main team, Selah said. They're testing us. Elias wiped blood from his jaw. Then let's give them a report worth remembering. An hour passed, the fire on the ridge still burned, the snow was red and black, the trees torn by blasts, but the cabin stood tall, bruised but unbroken. Elias sat on the front steps, wrapping his arm in cloth. Selah cleaned her rifle beside him. You all right? She asked. He nodded, bruised, not broken. She stared into the woods. They'll send more. Let them, she looked at him. Why do you keep fighting, Elias? You could have walked away the moment I arrived. He didn't answer it. First then, he said, because you didn't beg for help. You collapsed at my door like you expected death, not rescue. That's not what freedom looks like. I'm tired of watching people be used like weapons. She said nothing, but her throat tightened. Later that night, as the fire crackled and the sky stayed quiet, Selah stepped outside, looking up at the stars. So many of them so cold, so far. She used to think the stars held her destiny. Wasn't sure what destiny meant anymore. Elias stood beside her. They'll keep coming, she said. He nodded. Then we keep fighting. No, he said. We take the fight to them. Selah turned. You mean leave this place? You mean burn their house instead of waiting for them to burn ours? She smiled for the first time in days. All right, soldier, she whispered. Let's make the galaxy remember us. The sky was clear now, as if the storm had passed. But Elias knew better. Storms didn't end when the wind stopped. They ended when secrets stopped hiding. Inside the cabin, he sat, hunched over a dusty table, wires spread in front of him. A small, black device blinked softly in his hand. It was Selah's neural chip, the one she tore from her own spine. The surface was cracked, but the memory core still pulsed. Selah stood nearby, arms crossed, eyes watching. That chip, she said slowly, holds everything. Elias didn't look up. What kind of everything? The names, she said. The locations, the experiments, the programs. All the horrors Blackstream erased. He paused, then met her eyes. And if we open it, they'll know. Wherever they are, they'll feel it wake up. Elias nodded. Then he plugged it in. The cabin lights flickered. The chip's signal spread across the old console, like spilled oil darkened fast. Then came the data images. Reports, voice logs. Children wired to machines. Soldiers rebuilt from dead bodies. Memories erased. Personalities replaced. Code after code of training modules, each designed to destroy free will and rebuild it into obedience. Elias gritted his teeth. This is worse than I imagined. Selah leaned closer. Look at the file labeled Echo 9. That's me. He opened it. Her entire life typed out like a machine log. Subject 9. Exceptional reflexes. Complies under pain. 0 family. Links. Psychological control stable. Line after line. Cold. Heartless exact. Elias looked up. They never saw you as a person. They never do, she said. They only see weapons. Then something else appeared. A file buried deep inside the code, encrypted, locked with a triple-layer firewall. Elias frowned. This one's different. Protected with live code encryption. Break it, Selah said. I'll try. He started working, fingers moving fast. Each layer he unlocked brought a louder hum from the chip. The cabin trembled slightly. A warning flashed on the screen signal. Detected. Tracer deployed. Selah's eyes widened. They know. Elias ignored it. Almost there. The last code broke open, and the screen revealed a single name. Project. Hollow crown below it. Coordinates. Locked vaults. And a single audio file. Elias. played it, a voice filled the room. It was a man's voice, cold, calm, powerful. This is Director Varric. Project Hollow Crown will ensure that no assassin ever escapes control again. Full mind overwrite will begin with Subject 9. The test begins on Arco 7. All witnesses must be eliminated. Sayla's hands clenched into fists. That's the man. Who made me forget my name, she whispered. Elias stared at the screen. He's still alive, and he's still running this, and he's mine, she said. A long silence followed. The data kept flowing, hundreds of names, victims, test, subjects, hidden bases. Elias copied everything onto a secure drive. Where are these vaults? He asked. Sayla leaned over the map. This one, she said, pointing to a red dot on a frozen world. It's not just a lab, it's where they raised the next generation. Child assassins? She nodded. Babies born in tubes. Programmed. By AI, they're not trained. They're rewritten. Elias stood up. I said I'd help you survive, he said.
I'm going to help you end this.
They moved fast after that. Backpacks packed, weapons checked, drive secured, and a lead. Elias shut off every signal in the cabin and activated the old jamming beacon. It would delay Blackstream's detection for a few hours, maybe less. As they stepped outside, snow crunched under their boots. The world was quiet, but they knew the silence wouldn't last. Sa turned to him. If we go after them, we don't come back here. He nodded. Home's not always a place. Sometimes it's a choice. She looked at him for a long moment, then handed him her spare rifle. They reached the edge of the forest before dawn. Behind them, smoke still curled from the trees. Ahead, the stars pointed the way to vengeance. Sayla stopped, placing one hand on a tree. You know, she said, I never thought I'd want to go back. Back where? To where it all started. You don't have to, Elias said. We can leak this data. Let someone else handle it. She shook her head. No, this ends with me. I was there first. I'll make sure I'm there last. Elias nodded. Then let's finish this, said. They walked into the frostlight, two ghosts reborn, and behind them, buried in the fire and wires, the galaxy's darkest secret had just been uncovered. Blackstream wouldn't hide for long. Not anymore. The frozen wind howled across the landing pad as the dropship touched down, kicking up snow and broken ash. It was old, dented, barely holding together, but it flew, and that was all Elias needed. He stepped off the ramp, rifle across his chest, eyes scanning the distant black mountains. Behind him, Sayla walked slowly, her cloak wrapped tight around her. The wind cut through everything, but she didn't flinch. This planet called Vasker 6 was where it all began. This was the site of Blackstream's first assassin facility, the one they said no longer existed, the one she remembered only in nightmares. Now they had returned. Together they crossed the snowfields in silence beneath the surface. Scanners showed metal veins, old tunnels, and buried labs. It was all still here, sleeping like a monster beneath ice. Sayla stopped near a pile of old bones, partly buried in frost, her jaw clenched. This was the test yard, she said. It made us kill, even when we didn't want to. Elias. Look down. Children, she nodded. Failure meant disposal. We were never students. We were weapons on a shelf. He touched her shoulder. Not anymore. She turned her face away, blinking hard. Then let's bury this place forever. They reached a sealed door hidden under a frozen ridge. Elias cracked the old code surprisingly easy, but something felt wrong, too easy, as the door slid open. A whisper of warm air escaped. A voice came through a speaker, calm and cold. Welcome. Back, Subject 9. Sayla's face froze. That voice. Elias raised his rifle. Varric. Yes, the voice said. I've been waiting for you. She stepped forward. You knew I'd come. Of course, Varric replied. You always finish what you start. It's your most useful trait. I'm not yours anymore, she growled. No, Varric said. But you still carry the program. I want it back. Inside the facility, lights flickered on one by one. Sayla and Elias moved through the hall's metal walls. White lights echoing silence. Everything was too clean, too touched. As if the place had never stopped operating. They passed tanks filled with nutrient fluid, empty. Now, but not long ago? Walls covered in files, screens still blinking, labs still humming. Then came the central room, in the middle. Director VARREC. Old tall, smiling like a man with nothing to fear. Sayla raised her rifle, but Varric raised his hand in dozens of red. Dots lit up across their bodies. Ceiling panels slid open, revealing turrets and drone guns all aimed at them. Go ahead, Varric said calmly. Shoot me, and the system will reduce you both to ash. Elias looked at Sayla. She didn't lower her weapon. Her hands trembled not in fear, but rage. You stole everything from me, she said. Varric smiled. No, I gave you purpose. You were an empty child. I made you something great. Made me a monster, and the galaxy loved you for it. Elias took a slow breath. What do you want from her? Varric turned to him. She's the only one with the raw code in her mind. All the others are copies. She's the original. And if she refuses? Elias asked. She won't, Varric said. Because she can't. Sayla's eyes narrowed. You think I'm still under control? I know you are, Varric said. You wouldn't have come back unless something deep inside still obeyed me. For a second, just one, Sayla's hand twitched. Elias saw it, a flicker of doubt, of fear. Varric smiled wider. There, he said. You feel it, don't you? The obedience. Then Sayla did something unexpected. She lowered the rifle, stepped forward, and whispered, You're right. Varric's eyes lit up. He stepped closer. Good girl. But she moved faster than anyone. Had time to react? She pulled a tiny EMP spike from her belt, jammed it into the floor, and hit the switch. The lights exploded, the turret shut down. Sparks flew as the whole system blinked into darkness. Then came one shot, Sayla's rifle roaring. Varric staggered back, clutching his chest. Elias grabbed her arm. Go now. They ran as alarms screamed, systems melting down. Behind them, Varric gasped his final words. You were my finest. Sayla didn't look back. They reached the dropship minutes later. The base behind them began to collapse explosives. Elias had planted before they entered, detonating one by one. The mountain shook. Smoke filled the sky. Sayla stood in the ramp's doorway, staring at the rising fire. Elias stepped beside her. It's over. She didn't speak, just stared. Finally she whispered, No, it's beginning. He looked at her. What do you mean? She turned to him. They'll come after us now. Blackstream won't stop. But now I choose the fight. Not because I have to, but because I want to. For the first time since he met her, Leah saw it. She wasn't just an assassin. She was something far more dangerous, a free woman with purpose, and the galaxy wasn't ready for her. Smoke from the burning facility still rose into the sky, twisting like a black flag over the icy mountains. The fire below had swallowed everything Zarek, his secrets, and the place that once created monsters. But on the edge of that ruined world, aboard a battered dropship, two people sat in silence. Elias flew the ship through the upper atmosphere, his hands steady on the controls. Sayla stood behind him, staring out the wide window, her face lit by the cold light of the stars. She didn't speak, not yet. But her mind wasn't quiet. She had done it. She had killed the man who built her cage. But the chains, she knew, didn't vanish overnight. Hours later, they landed on a moon station, neutral territory. No governments, no questions. It wasn't much, just a few buildings, dark alleys, and rusted towers. But it was quiet. For now, that was enough. They rented a small room with a sealed door and no windows. Elias cleaned his wounds, checked his gear, then sat across from her. You haven't said a word, he finally said. Sa looked up. I've never been free before. I don't know what comes next. You decide what comes next. She shook her head slowly. That's the problem. I don't know who I am without orders, without missions, without death. You're still breathing, Elias said. The next day, news began to spread across the galaxy. Blackstream facility destroyed. Director Varric. Dead leak data confirms secret assassin program. People were talking. Governments were denying. But the truth was out now, thanks to the drive. Elias had uploaded to the deep net an hour after they escaped. The galaxy couldn't unsee what they'd seen. And for once, Selah wasn't running from shadows. The shadows were running from her. Later, that night, Elias found her sitting outside, legs dangling over the edge of the station's landing platform. Below her, endless space shimmered like a sea of stars. He sat beside her. "I should go," she said quietly. "They'll keep hunting me." Elias raised an eyebrow. "Where will you go?" She shrugged. "Does it matter? I don't belong anywhere." Looked at her for a long moment, then stay. She blinked. "What? Stay?" he said again. "You don't need to run. We fight from here. Together," her voice cracked. "I don't know how to be anything else. I was made to kill." Elias said, "You were made to survive. Killing was just how they tried to control you. But you chose something different. You came back. You saved others." She turned to him. "Why do you care?" "'Cause when you collapsed at my door, I saw a fighter who was still holding on. I'm tired of letting the good ones fall." The next morning, they made a choice. Not to run, not to disappear, but to build. They rented a quiet space in the lower decks of the station, a repair bay with sealed walls and strong locks. They rewired it, reinforced it, turned it into a command room. From there, they began tracking Blackstream remnants, not to escape them, but to destroy them. One cell at a time. Weeks passed. More data leaked. More facilities fell. People began whispering of a ghosted deadly woman with glowing eyes and a human soldier at her side. They weren't assassins anymore. They were hunters. Elias saw the change in her. She laughed sometimes, just a little. She stopped checking every corner before entering a room in once. When she fell asleep on the couch after a long day, she didn't flinch when he moved the blanket over her. One night, Selah stood alone, watching a message on the screen. It was a reply from a woman they had helped, a former assassin who'd escaped Blackstream, thanks to the data they leaked. The message ended with a single line, "You gave me a life." I'll never forget that. Salah's hands trembled, not with fear, with something gentler. Hope. Elias entered the room, stopping when he saw her. "Everything all right?" asked she. Turned, nodded slowly, then smiled. I want to stay." Elias smiled back. "Then we fight from here." The galaxy hadn't changed overnight. There were still hunters in the dark, still secrets buried on forgotten planets. But the deadliest assassin in the galaxy was no longer part of that world. She had chosen something. It's not revenge, not survival, but purpose. And beside her was the one human who gave her shelter when she expected chains together. They didn't just fight, they built something stronger, and the stars would remember them for it.